All right. Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. November 27, 2018, USD 500. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Westphal, would you please call the roll?
Carol Brown.
Present.
Maxine Drew.
Present.
Janie Humphreys.
Present.
Brenda Jones.
Present.
Wanda Brownlee Page.
Present.
Valdina Nguyen.
Present.
Stacy Yeager.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please, to approve the regular agenda.
So move. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the regular agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Good evening, audience, and good evening, Dr. Faust.
Good evening. Wow. So it's November and we already have snow. And
welcome to Kansas.
Yes. I was told that it would probably start around January-ish. But it's beautiful. I first want to thank our transportation team, our operations team, and anyone else who had a hand in our principals, teachers, everyone for just the work that we do. And we were talking earlier, and I don't know if everyone understands what goes on behind the scenes when it snows, but the team really, really did a great job, and I just want to publicly say thank you to that operations team. And food and nutrition, yes, definitely. We were surprised of the snow, and definitely we learned things that we need to do better, and we'll work on those. But for the most part, we got kids in and out of schools safely. We got employees here safely, and that's what matters most to us. So I want to thank everyone for a job well done. Oh, so we have a grant, and I'm looking for Joe Fives. I know Joe is here. Joe is going to talk to us about a grant that we are proud recipients of that's going to help with our students and their connectability to the internet.
Yes, sir, Dr. Faust. Madam President, board, and guests. I have with me Andrea Chambers and Thomas Wiley. They are with the 1 Million Project Foundation, which was actually a brainchild of Sprint. And what the foundation is trying to do is eliminate the homework gap. And the homework gap is our students that do not have internet access at home or very limited internet access at home. So the way that we do that is by identifying the students that have that need through a student survey via Infinite Campus. And so the survey has been out. I will give you the results of that survey here in a minute. The survey continues for about another 70 days or so in this program. But basically, after we identify those students that have the need, they will receive a hotspot, a Sprint hotspot, with free monthly access up to 3 gigabytes of data per month per line. If they exceed that, they'll continue to be able to use it at a reduced bandwidth. Let's see, the devices, those hotspots, are filtered to be compliant with the Children's Internet Protection Act, CIPA, and that's on top of the filtering that we already provide on our high school laptops. Since they take them home and out of our network, they had to be filtered anyways, because they could be used anywhere, McDonald's, any hotspots, their home network, whatever. So they're going to have basically double filtering, though, with these Sprint hotspots. So the survey, we have gotten so far 434 responses. Simply 2 questions that we asked. Do you have, number one, do you have reliable internet access at home? Reliable enough that you don't have to think about whether it will work when you need it to work. Of those, 334 responded yes and 100 no. The second question if you do have reliable internet access at home, is it fast enough that you can do your homework without having to wait long periods of time for pages to load? 218 answered yes on that, and 216 answered no. So with that, we have 344 qualifying. If they answered yes on the first question, but no on the second question, they still qualified. Obviously, if they answered no on the first question, they qualified. And then McKinney-Vento, we have 156 of those that are automatically qualified in the program. There are, at this point, 1,478 devices that have been awarded. So that's why we're continuing to survey students, and we'll pick up quite a bit more, I'm sure, as the word gets out. Do we have any questions?
No.
Well, let me ask, and I think I understood what you just said. The goal is to reach full capacity, 1,400 and...
Or more. If we have more, they have committed to giving us more. So I think as many as we have the need for, yes. One thing I forgot to mention, too, is they will have this device with the free access for their entire time here in high school. They will own the device after they leave high school, after they graduate.
Wow.
But at that point, they would have to pay student rate for the access.
All right. Well, thank you. That is
You're
remarkable.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Simply marvelous.
Okay. Dr. Faust, can you have Mr. Fives present his statement written to the board?
Yes.
So I don't get the number incorrect. How about that? Okay. So what else do you need on that item? Okay.
It was just a presentation. We'll go tomorrow.
Okay. Well, did you tell them that? About the... While they're taking their seat. Yeah.
Make sure
Yeah.
my date's correct.
Yeah. Another reason why we like to have it written so we won't make any mistakes and so that we could share with the community.
So we will go to the 1 Million Project Foundation press announcement on Thursday at 9 o'clock at the Center Academy of Excellence to receive so it's more like a certificate, and then we will get the devices at a later date. But I'll definitely have Mr. Fives give you the information in a written form.
Yes, please.
So that everyone will just upload it into the library.
That'll be fine.
So that everyone will do it.
Okay, thank you. Because we have so many exciting things to do tonight, I will forego any communications I may have. Any other board members have anything to say?
No, that's good.
Moving right, that's it. Let's get to the awards. Any board reports from you? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we enter a exciting early graduation ceremony. Conferring the diploma of J.C. Harmon High School student Mariah Shoptaw.
Shoptaw.
All right, Mr. Marcos.
KCK Board of Education, Dr. Faust and guests, I want to welcome you and ask you to help me celebrating Mariah Shoptaw for her soon-to-be accomplishment as a high school graduate. She has had to face many roadblocks, obstacles that most students or even people wouldn't be able to overcome and at such a young age. And so not only has she overcome these obstacles, but she's done it with her head held high, and she's also had her vision clear. Starting here in January, she is going to go and start college early, and she wants to be a teacher. And so hopefully this keeps KCK in mind when she finishes that degree. I do want to take a quick second to thank the board, also thank the district in being flexible and working with Mariah and also students like her just to get that early graduation to allow them to proceed with those dreams and get rid of some of those roadblocks that may be in the way. So thank you for that. With all that being said, on behalf of the staff members and the administration of J.C. Harmon High School, I would like to certify that on this day, November 27, 2018, Mariah Shoptaw has met the graduation requirements set forth by the Unified School District 500, Kansas City, Kansas Board of Education, and is eligible to be awarded as the distinction of a high school diploma. Please help me in congratulating her. Please stand.
School District number 500, Kansas City, Kansas. I, Dr. on behalf of the Board of Education, do hereby confer upon you this diploma, which designates you now and hereafter as a graduate of Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. Congratulations.
That is very good. That is great.
Yeah, that's
Really? You're going to college in January?
Congratulations.
Yes.
Graduating from high school is always exciting. We all can remember. It was just last year. Continuing with our awards and recognition, now we're super excited, again, to recognize the Kansas Teacher of the Year, Ms. Whitney Morgan.
Good evening, Board, and Dr. Faust.
We're going to go around.
Okay, awesome.
Do some exercising.
Okay.
Good evening. Tonight is a celebration for our district, a district that set the conditions for professional learning and collaboration. Tonight is a celebration for our team of amazing professionals at Wyandotte High School and at schools throughout this district, where educators come together to learn and work together to provide the best learning opportunities for our students. Tonight is a celebration of one very special educator, Mrs. Whitney Morgan, who believes in our schools, believes in her colleagues, and the power of teachers. And maybe most importantly, she values and believes in each and every one of her students. After graduating from Kansas State University in December of 2012, Mrs. Whitney Morgan joined the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools as a long-term sub for one semester before joining the team at Wyandotte High School in August of 2013. Since that time, Mrs. Morgan has worked with her colleagues to grow and develop as a person, a teacher, and a leader. Mrs. Morgan is an exemplary teacher who is representative of many exemplary teachers at Wyandotte and throughout our district. On Saturday, November 17th, Kansas Commissioner of Education, Dr. Randy Watson, made the announcement at a gathering of over 400 people that Mrs. Morgan was selected as the 2019 Kansas Teacher of the Year. It was a wonderful celebration of hard work, professional commitment, and dedication as Mrs. Morgan was honored with this award. Whitney will be traveling throughout the state during the spring semester, advocating for education, speaking to legislators, meeting with university students, and learning from other educators throughout our state. She will lead the team of the other 7 Kansas State Teacher of the Year state finalists in this process. Whitney is now the candidate for National Teacher of the Year from the state of Kansas. Once again, this recognition is definitely a celebration of Whitney and is also a true recognition and celebration of the Kansas City, Kansas public school team. It is also a statement that our hard work is validated and respected by people all over this state, as over 80 individuals were a part of the selection that started last spring. Congratulations, Whitney. You are definitely an outstanding professional, and congratulations to our Kansas City, Kansas public schools, an outstanding district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to start off by just saying thank you for entrusting me with this honor and responsibility. I'm proud to be in the KCK community and family, and I hope to make you all proud through this process. Kansas Teacher of the Year is a little bit of a misnomer because it's not about being the best teacher, and it's not about one single person. I hope this coming year to not only be an ambassador for education and an advocate for students, but also a strong representative for teachers. Thank you again for this incredible opportunity.
Thank you. That's so embarrassing. We'll do it after this one. Our next recognition of fall sports athletes. They can congratulate everybody. And while they're getting ready and approaching the podium, please remain. We're going to take a break after this so that we'll be able to congratulate everybody. So don't run off. Thank you.
Before I get started, I know the players want to come up and shake hands with you guys, so would you guys be okay with coming out to the front here? So I appreciate that.
Maybe I got the chair.
Good evening, Dr. Faust, Dr. Wynn, board members. My name is Cecil Criswell, and I'm your district athletic director. I want to thank you for the opportunity this evening to acknowledge the Army of student athletes behind me. These individuals representing the Kansas City, Kansas Atchison League have put in many hours of practice and preparation, striving to become the best at their respective disciplines. Tonight you will meet league champions, first team KCAL selections, as well as special recognitions involving Player and Coach of the Year honors. We'll start with football first. Football this year, our football league champs were the Schlegel Stallions. Schlegel finished with a 6-4 overall record, undefeated in KCAL 5-0, and made it to the regional round of the Acacia 5-state football tournament. Here this evening, representing Schlegel, we have Joshua Beckton, Devin Hines, and D'Angelo Logan. And gentlemen that are first team selection, circle back. If you're not a first team, you can go ahead and hang out here because the numbers are low, so that'll work there. In each of the sports, the coaches vote at the end of the season for first team or KCAL selection, so they do a first team, second team, honorable mention. Tonight, I have with me some of the first team players. So With me tonight from Washington, I have Alex Howard, Romare Curry, and Willie Fields. Give them a hand, please. From Wyandotte High School, Kevin Munoz. And from FL Schlegel, Josh Beckton and D'Angelo Logan. They also vote on a Player of the Year, Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year as well. Player of the Year for football this year, Jalen Richardson, but he's not present. Alex Howard, I think he stepped out. Bring Alex back out here. Alex was the Offensive Player of the Year. Let's give Alex a big hand. And also not with us this evening, Manoa Genzara Bona. Yeah, he was Defensive Player of the Year. So give it up for football again, please. And also Coach of the Year, not present, Pat Hansen from Schlegel. Girls Cross Country, Sumner Academy was the league champs for girls cross country, claimed 6 of the 10 top 10 places in the KCAL League tournament this year. So way to go, Sabres. With us this evening, yep, give them a hand, good job. With us this evening with the Sabres, Morgan Dirks, Casey Pugh, and Suzanne Smith. For the boys cross country, Wyandotte High School, okay, was league champs. Wyandotte claimed 4 of the top 10 places in the KCAL League Invitational. And with us here this evening, Roberto Neves, Mohamed Abdullah, and Carlos Castro. Give them a big hand, please. Representing Player of the Year for girls cross country, and I had the privilege of being the athletic director at Sumner for 2 of the years that Morgan Dirks was a student there, and she was a state competitor each of her 4 years as a student at Sumner Academy and placed very high. So she not only was the Player of the Year, but she also gets a medal for being a state participant this year. So give her a big hand, please. And not present tonight, Player of the Year for cross-country boys, John Vier Irakoze. So not here this evening, but he was Player of the Year. Coach of the Year for girls from Sumner Academy, Coach Jason J. And Coach of the Year for boys cross country from Wyandotte High School, Gary Craig. Wonder who that is out there. Is that All right. Volleyball this year, Atchison High School was the league champs for volleyball. Finished with a 30-8 record and went undefeated in league. We did have, I believe, 4 first team all KCAL, but I don't think they're here this evening. And Atchison also took home the Player of the Year as well as Coach of the Year for volleyball. Last up here, we have boys soccer. This year in boys soccer, Washington High School was the soccer league champs. First league championship in school history. 16-2 record, 8-1, yeah, big accomplishment. 8-1 record in KCAL and made it to the quarterfinal round in the Acacia Class 5A Boys State Soccer Tournament. Here with us this evening, Ram Nin, Nai Ong, Kui Tang, Sergio Soriano, Ling Thang, Isban Mong, Vane Thang, Victor Lian, Mana Thang, Gerardo Angel, Leanne Sin, Javier Alvarez, and Christopher Galvin. and coaches Joseph Janner, Robert Wallace, and King Peterson. Give them a big hand. Coach Janner, come on back out. Oh, they're coming back around. Good. All right. We also had first team selections here this evening. Okay. Again, voted on by the coaches. And gentlemen, you can come on through. Okay. Here with us this evening for first team. You can go ahead. Okay. Yeah, you guys come on through. Okay. From Washington, Gerardo Angel, Leanne Sin, Vang Thang. From Wyandotte High School, Manuel Escobedo, Jorge Fernandez. From Harmon High School, Brian Gutierrez, Luis Melara. Give them a big hand, guys. Okay, and last but not least, two other special awards. Our Player of the Year this year in boys soccer was Mr. Ling Thang. And our final award, Coach of the Year, okay, Mr. Joseph Janner. In closing, I want to thank Dr. Faust, Dr. Nguyen, and the Board of Education for their continuous support in our athletic programs. When I took on this position of District Athletic Director this summer, I expressed to the principals my mission of providing the best possible athletic experiences. To support the mission, a collective influence involving the district, its schools, and student athletes and parents must be present. I'm very excited about the opportunity to explore ways to grow our athletic programs. I hope that you will assist me in ensuring that all of our schools have the necessary resources and supports in place to provide valuable, competitive, and engaging athletic programs. Again, thank you for your time this evening.
It's pretty cool.
So before everyone leaves, please allow our board members to congratulate the graduate and the athletes. So we'll take 5 minutes. you went to? Oh, thank you. So I didn't get mine either. To get a date to give you a certificate on the floor of the house. So I don't know. That would be the day you all come in. So you have that date yet? I'll ask Deb. Okay. Okay.
Really hurts me. In the next few weeks, I should know more about like my dates.
Well, I'm up there Monday, so I'll see less of you next week. So
Well, thank you so much. I've been saying that KCK has been my only teaching home, and so you all are a great commitment to me. And thank you for growing me into who I am today. So I just appreciate all of you.
well, good.
Definitely a team effort. It's not about
Don't
me
let
at
them
all.
steal you away.
Yes. Oh, I'm coming back.
Okay. All right. Whitney? All right.
Okay, now we can get down to business.
There's nothing, I mean, are you gonna,
No.
did you meet with the?
Move through this as quickly as possible.
So I thought we weren't gonna do any of it.
I did my mentor, Just saying. I still remember you coming by, and like you were inspirational when it comes to your teaching. You had your passion for having talked about students and how much you loved it. I still remember. I said, I gotta figure out who that is. The lady in purple who came by. So I still remember that from my first year.
Did you and Bunny get together?
Not yet. Now I got some time in my
I know, I was trying not to be shy.
Because he told me, he said he wants to get together with you.
I'm not used to it myself.
And just, I didn't know you all knew each other. Had no clue. I had no clue you two knew each other that well.
Hey, we were all in the same. The basketball community was a small community, but it was a tight community.
I knew he played all the time.
Yeah, we were close. Yeah, absolutely. We got anything.
And that Donnell would go down and watch because he was so young.
Because we have so many things. When we go to lunch, we have a lot of things to talk about.
That's great. Larry let us know, he said, don't fret with him being the head coach. He said, because all he is doing is just filling in a position. He said, because he doesn't really expect that much out of them to win. He said that he's going to push him as much as he can.
Okay, so is she next? Where are we? Yeah. No. Board updates.
I know Donald Moore.
Donald Moore's sister.
And Greta and I were roommates in college. She passed away about 4 years ago.
Would like to come back. Is this hot? Like to come back to order, please. Please take your seats.
Yeah, I know her too. Yeah, very well. I'm very close to her.
Next item on the agenda, Dr. Kelly Mathers, bond update, Chief Operating Officer.
She said she knew.
Dr. Wynn, members of the board.
Dr. Mathers.
Good evening.
Mathers.
Dr. Faust. Let me get these open if I could real quick. Since they're all individual, I'm going to just go ahead and open all of them. Keep your fingers crossed. Let's hope we can see this one. Not bad.
So you're going to start with which one, please?
I'm going to start with the November 27th bond update report that we always have. That has your list of work packages at the top, but it's entitled November 27, 2018 Board Update. Okay. It's hard to follow graduations and fall sport recognitions and all that.
But you're very important,
but hey,
Dr. Mathers. We still love you.
Thank you. I appreciate the confidence. Now I put the pressure on myself.
That's it. Better do it right, sister.
Feels like we've had like a little bit of a lull, which has been kind of nice. I don't want to jinx it with the bond work, but now it's starting to gear right back up again. Our October expenditures are at $6.8 just over $6.8 million. We do have a threshold in regards to our bond expenditures to meet by December 20th, and we are confident that we will be meeting that in regards to total expenditure, so that's good. We've been tracking that very closely. Before I turn it over to Doug to go over the pictures, I just thought that I would give you, there's no new GMPs at this point, so we're not going to review bid tabs this evening, but no guaranteed max prices have been out. We have lots of work going out to bid that's been out to bid and being vetted, so I'm just going to give you some updates that I thought might be helpful. If you don't have this on yours, you might need to refresh because it should be on there now. So at the very bottom of your sheet that we give you each month, I wanted to just review some of the work packages that we're kind of in the middle of and dealing with. The first one is work package 4A. That's the addition to Grant Elementary School. All is going well. I don't want to steal any thunder from Doug. Don't know what he's going to share with his pictures, but it is targeted to be completed by December of this year, and the plan is to move into the addition over the Christmas break, so that's going to be interesting because we have a very short window of time to do that, but very doable, and Doug's team is working on getting that accomplished. Work package 8, which is Wellborn Elementary School, completion targeted for summer of 19. Again, moving into the new school over the summer of 2019. We have an extensive abatement schedule for the older facilities, the existing schools, to get those abated so we can raise or demo those facilities and finish up the parking areas and all of that. For school, for the 19-20 school year, you're going to start seeing a theme here. The summer of 2019 is pretty busy. Work package 9, the Gloria Willis Middle School, also targeted open for the 19-20 school year, so we'll be moving in the summer. Rosedale's under construction. I think Doug has a bit of an update for you, and the new kitchen should be ready to go for the summer, or for the 19-20 school year as well. Work package 6 is the number of our high schools, Schlegel, Washington, and Harmon, split up into 3, it's the same work package, but 3 areas of work. Schlegel's doing the science rooms and the administration. That is spelled incorrectly, and I've noticed that, sorry. The administration, which is the secure entrances. Schlegel will be completed in the summer of 19 for all of that work, the secure entrance and the science rooms. Bids are out. We've had bids out, and bids will be in and be presented in the December board meeting. Right now they're being vetted, so that work package has been sent out and bid. Trended well. Looks like we're going to have some savings on that. The other part of work package 6, which is Washington High School, we're redoing all of their science rooms. We're doing a total replumbing of all of Washington and the secure entrances, which means the reorganization of the administrative areas. That's going to be divided into 2 phases as we do this work. The first phase will include half of the plumbing, and the other, and all of the secure entrance or admin area will be done in the summer of 2019. We'll come back and do the other half of the plumbing and the science rooms in the summer of 2020. Have to split that up just to try to phase that work in. There's so much work that trying to do it in a short period of time just can't get it done in one summer. So we're splitting that up. And then Harmon, we're doing science rooms and the secure entrance and what I'm calling the storefront. The whole face of Harmon High School will be changed and updated and renewed, and that will be completed in the summer of 19. There will be a portion of that project that I'm calling phase 2 that will extend into December and finish in December of 2019, and that's the storefront part and some of the upstairs. But most of the administration area, secure entrance, and all science rooms should be done this coming summer. It is out to bid, and bids received for Harmon will be sometime in December and reviewed with the board in January. I meant to mention that Washington is out to bid also in December and board reviewed in February likely because it'll be coming in later in that month. So I'll have time to vet those out and bring those back to the board for your review. That's when we'll go through all the bid tabs. Work package 7 is all of the elementary school work. So there's actually 2 different work packages, work package 7A and B. But I kept them together for Quindaro, Carruthers, Banneker, Douglas, M.E. Pearson, and Whittier, all getting secure entries, and a kitchen at Douglas. And again, that's all targeted to be completed the summer of 2019. West Park Elementary School's work package 10. It's out to bid in January, received bids late in January, had to be vetted out and board approved in February. That's for the 2021 school year. And then Bruni Elementary School is out to bid in November. Should be it's out to bid this current November, and we will receive bids in December on the 13th of this month, and then bring that to the board for final review in January. So busy, busy, busy summer in 2019. Wanted to give you kind of a forecast of this is everything that's going on with the current work packages. Then we'll probably slow down for a small breath and then finish everything up. With that, I'll have Doug kind of review some of the details with 3 or 4 of the packages, and I'll try to navigate for you a little bit here.
All right.
Questions about that? Okay.
Madam President and Board, Dr. Faust.
Hello.
Hello. I'll add one thing that you missed. But, well, that's right. Work Package 7A is the addition to FISC, which we are actually just getting ready to start, and that also will be complete the summer of 2019.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, too.
Yep.
A whole addition.
Okay, so starting at Wellborn, you can see by the pictures there that things are going very well. Actually working on getting the casework or the cabinetry put into the classrooms, doing painting, getting the ceiling grid in, sheetrock, really all of this month, and they're going to be continuing on with that project into December. And if you scroll down a little bit to the other pictures, you can see that that is really taking shape, going very well. That project is going to be difficult in the summer with taking down the other 2 buildings and the logistics of getting those buildings down and getting that the parking lots, and they're already working on a plan to get that done and getting some of that work done now already. Okay, next. Where are we going? Where are we going next?
I don't know. Whichever one comes up.
Yeah.
Rosedale.
Dr. Mather mentioned Rosedale again, going very well. This is one that really seems like it took off once they got started. You can see we have footings and foundations in. They've got the slab poured. Really not a whole lot to say on that. They're doing a lot of the site work and the groundwork right now with the yeah, that's all right. Again, going very well.
Snow going to slow them down?
Yes. Grant Elementary, Dr. Mather mentioned this one, that we are going to be moving in over the Christmas break. We are working on that plan. We had a very good meeting between us, the J.E. Dunn people, and Dr. Malone about the logistics of how that's all going to work, and we're still working out the details of that. They really have a lot of work to do between now and the end of the month, but they're going to get this done. That's not optional. You can see they're working on the finishes and the ceiling grids, working on some of the casework you can see there. I will mention last time I mentioned that there was an issue with the brickwork on the exterior. The proposed solution was not accepted, and they are going back and fixing that brickwork, which will be going on now and really on into the spring. Won't have any impact on the schedule. Okay? Got Gloria Willis.
But as per that conversation, who eats those costs?
That's on the contractor. The subcontractor actually is taking care of that. Yeah.
I just wanted to hear you say it.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Gloria Willis, again, this project's going very well. Weather has slowed us down in certain cases, but they're plowing through. You can see they've got the HVAC or the systems installed. In fact, I think they were going to fire those up maybe this past week. It says that's for next time. I may be getting that in Wellborn confused. The masonry work, they're getting the finishes on the outside with the awnings there. They mentioned the patching the precast panels, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit more here in just a minute. Well, I'll go ahead and talk about Typically, these precast panels, they do a lot of patching in the factory before they bring them out. They brought some of these out prior to getting that patching done, so they've been working that on site. And frankly, I'll tell you that not all of that has been up to standards that meets our standards or the architects, and they're still working through that process right now. And again, that will be something for the subcontractor to take care of. Okay. Other than that, same kind of thing, the sheetrock, and all of that is going on. Inside, again, going very well. We have lost some days to weather on all of these. But as of right now, we still think we're on schedule. Obviously, the start of school is the start of school. We'll be done. So. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes,
I probably
ma'am.
should have asked it a little earlier. I still keep getting phone calls from people about the bids and that the process is not clear, and that when they call me, I generally try to refer them to you guys, and they feel like it's not clear and that they really don't have a fair shake. They've gone to some of the meetings that Jay Dunn has sponsored,
okay.
and sometimes they have to pay, and they feel like they're paying, but they're not really getting a fair share, and they feel like something's already preordained, it's already been set, and it's almost like a futile effort. And just concerned, because you want to give everybody a fair
Sure, absolutely.
share.
Want everybody to have an opportunity.
And sometimes they just don't feel that they're getting that fair share. And that the information is not clear, or that this, and this person doesn't know this, and they're
Okay.
trying to talk to this one and that one, and nothing. It's like they're running in the race, but they're really having a hard time trying to keep up.
Okay. I tell you, I have not spoken with anybody directly about the bidding process, and really, again, that's J.E. Dunn as the construction manager at risk. They take care of all the bidding and put that out, but we can certainly talk to them again. We've tried to take those steps to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to bid. We want to get as many bidders and the opportunity as we can. So I'll have to just share that with the group there at J.E. Dunn. And I will certainly do that.
And as I mentioned before, if you know of a person, individual specifically, and they're willing to talk to us, give us their name. We'll reach out to them.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure Jay Dunn does as well. So remember, everything's publicly bid, publicly open. So
Right.
everybody, if they complete the bid package, they submit their work. Everybody has the same opportunity. It's just the lowest bid. So. And we
What's
go
the date
over
of the
all
next
those
bid?
bids with it.
What's the date of the next bid package being released? I didn't look closely enough to.
December 13th?
December 13th?
Yes.
Which one is that for, Wayne? Do you know? Bernie. That's when it's coming back in, is December 13th. We have some bid work coming in for Schlegel's work. It's already come in, I'm sorry, in November. And as I said, we'll come to the board next month for your review of the bid tab.
Okay.
That package has already been out and bid, so they're vetting that. Harmon work is going to be out to bid this month in November, and it's back in the 19th of December, and that will be brought to the board in January.
And the date you gave, you just gave, that is the release of the bid?
We have an out to bid, which is the release.
Okay.
That was in November for those two. Schlegel's October, Harmon November,
Okay.
Bernie Elementary November. The bid date, and I put it on your sheet there that I went over earlier,
Right.
which is when we receive the bids in.
So
And we publicly
the
open.
deadline for these bids that were publicized in November, December 13th, December 19th, right?
Yes, that would be the deadline.
Okay, so prior to the next one, Dr. Faust, I'd like for us to meet with the J.E. Dunn person and look at the language of that bid, because otherwise we have missed this. And the last conversation we had is that USD 500 does not write the language, correct?
You're talking about the ads in the
Correct.
newspapers. Yep, they put those
Okay,
ads.
so please let Dr. Faust know, you know anyway, but let us know so that we can have a conversation prior to it being published.
Okay.
Because that then will reduce, well, maybe, remove that confusion we had.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that that's taken care of.
Because there are not very many more bids.
No, we'll be doing majority of them, as you can tell, with
Yeah.
most of the work finishing up. I mean, there's going to be some for another year probably or more, but the bulk is happening now. So December 10th looks like the next one for
Right.
Washington High School's work goes out to bid. So prior to that, we'll make sure we take a look at the language because it comes back in January. So.
And again, for clarification, help me. For our own in-house bidding, you write that language?
Wayne in purchasing writes the language.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
And we gave you samples of that. all
Right.
those ads, yeah.
So we need to have some conversation so that we'll know what to tell people when they have questions for us.
Absolutely. Sure.
Any other questions for our fantastic duo?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Doug.
Next, vacancy report. Walt Thompson, Interim Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, please. Excuse me.
Madam President,
Good evening.
Board,
Good
Dr.
evening.
Faust, good evening. Cynthia Folks is going to come and visit with us about vacancies and let you know some other information.
Good evening, Dr.
Good evening.
Nguyen and Dr. Faust and board members.
Good evening.
We are glad to be back before you to discuss briefly the November vacancies that are before you. One of the things that I would like you to know is that since the last board meeting, although we have raised vacancies by 1, so last month we reported 29, today we're reporting 30. We have successfully hired several individuals, but we have also received some resignations. So that's why the numbers at this point are fluctuating a little bit more. Next month is December. We are very happy to report that what are we doing about these particular numbers. Last year, you wanted to know how we would be successful with student teachers who are actually having their practicum hours, observations, or having student teaching experiences within our district. And for the fall semester, we had a month ago an orientation where we had more than 30 individuals attend. And out of that 30, 18 of those student teachers have decided that they would like to be with us. So when they are able to present their license, when they're able to present any other documentation, they have recommendations that have come from principals or leaders in the school district that have watched them, that have been with them for several weeks. And so we are happy to report that that's just for the first semester. We will be having more student teachers during the spring semester, and we'll continue to report on how we're doing in making sure that those individuals know that we absolutely would like for them to have a first opportunity with us. Of course, we know it's their choice, and we know that some of those individuals who presented their information to us that they would like to remain with us, a few of those are December graduates. And so they would be available for some of these vacancies that we currently have. The next thing I'd like you to know is that the word is beginning to get out a little bit more in terms of some of the efforts that we made last year, whereby we offer experienced teachers who are already, and so I want to say this very carefully, we are not waiting until we get to April, May, and June when we want to be able to take those vacancies that are known then and then try to go and find and speak with experienced level teachers who have more than a couple of years of experience. And so what we did over the summer that's beginning to bear fruit is that we actually have invited experienced teachers to come in anytime throughout this particular school year, and that we would allow them with the approval of the principals to be able to go out and speak to teachers in the schools, actually observe. That's not something new that we're doing, but the way that we're going about it in a process is something that we're doing and then following through with them immediately by asking them after they have a day of experiences in a couple of different schools of their choice. If they're a middle school teacher, they may wish to go to the middle schools. If they're high school or elementary, so forth and so on. And so I'm really appreciative of the executive directors and Dr. Jason, as well as the principals, for allowing us to do that in an orderly fashion. We've had 5 individuals who are experienced, who have master's degrees, doctorate degrees, who have heard and wanted to see what Diploma Plus was really about, and they have indicated an interest going forward in 2019-2020. So some of the efforts that you're seeing right now will bear fruit more along the way. But I do know that of the individual vacancies that you see right now before you, we do have at least 3 offers that are outstanding, in addition to everything else that I've said about student teachers, about others that are beginning to approach us, about others that are wanting to come in and observe the great things that are happening here at the district. Last but not least, since September 15th, we actually have attended 21 different events, college campuses, business events, business organizations, and nonprofit events, whereby we could express what our vacancies are on the certified side as well as the classified side. And although I said last but not least, Dr. Faust has provided me through some of his contacts with more colleges that he would like us to pursue and open up for the spring. And so we're in the process of contacting some of those colleges. Some of those colleges were on our radar and some were not. And so I do appreciate Dr. Faust for providing that list to me through some of his resources. Some of those colleges have a higher percentage of Hispanic population of students. And so we are trying to work with the deans of colleges, the executives of colleges in the educational area, or if they're going to be certified or classified, other positions that we have, such as social workers, school psychologists, and letting them be aware of the vacancies that we have throughout the year. With that, that's what I had to present tonight.
Okay. Questions?
I have a couple. One, out of the positions that you've listed where you have vacancies, are these positions being filled by long-term subs or just daily subs?
They may be a combination of both, but I believe it is my understanding from working closely on a daily basis with Ms. Peppers that she attempts to put those licensed individuals who may only want to be subs, but they have longer term ability to stay in those positions. I believe that's something that she tries to do first.
And then the second question, it was nice to hear you say that you were trying to look at trying to get more Hispanics. And we need to keep saying that because we hear it often, daily, every second, no matter where we go, there needs to be more diversity.
Yes.
And we can't take it for granted. And we can't keep saying, we know it's not an easy task, but we just have to get out there and really show people that we're trying. Because you can say it and then your numbers don't reflect it, and then that's a problem. Mm-hmm. So we, please, we have got to do something. I don't know what that was.
His
okay.
Radio.
I think
to do all that we can to bring so that we can, kids need to see themselves. And that's important. I don't care who you are. Mm-hmm. You need to see yourself. And that's critical. And we don't want to keep saying we're doing it, and then it doesn't really pan out. You don't see it.
Absolutely. And so this effort didn't really start just this year, but I think one of the things that I wanted to do in the brief time that I have before you once a month is to give you more information about where we were last month, where we are, going for the spring term, those type of things, so that at least the community, as well as the board members, can understand the efforts that we are making, and you don't have to wait for a once-a-year report, annual report, to see what did or did not happen. I would also share with you that going into new places and new colleges where, and not just new colleges, new business events, and if they don't know Kansas City, Kansas, it could very well take us an additional year before they understand who we are, where we are, what we have to offer when we have to go that far away. For example, some of the areas that Dr. Faust has given us, they are in areas that are more than 500 miles away from here, on the coast areas. And so, but that is where our larger Hispanic population is. And that's why we want to take it to them. We want to go to them. We want to show them while we're there. We want to utilize our funds and not only be there for a career fair, but maybe stay an extra night and go in and speak to some of those teacher classes where the deans of educational school districts would allow us to go in, not school districts, but on a campus. That's one of the easiest ways for students to remember. And then when you go back the next year, they can say, I was in that class that you spoke to me about. I didn't know anything about Diploma Plus. I didn't know anything about Kansas City, Kansas. So that effort, at least if you know where we're going, you can let them know, or you can send them back to us, and we certainly can show them where we've been and would value some of those other places that the community is now sharing more with us about where we should go.
Well, I'd just like to remind you, there are people in Missouri who live in Kansas who want to come back home. Now, I don't know where the problem is, because we get conflicting stories. When we send them, there's a problem. But they do want to come back because they're tired of paying 2 taxes. And that's a group that we really haven't tapped into the way that we should. Hispanic and Black, they're there. We plead, we beg, we try to get them to apply, and something always seems to come up. Now, somehow they're good enough to be in North Kansas City, Olathe, Blue Valley, but when it comes here, there seems to be a problem. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm pleading, I'm calling, come back, come home. We got to make it work. And they want to come back, but something always seems to block that.
Well, I'm pleading with you for any board member that if you would just, I know some of you have taken us up on it, and you've asked that individual to contact us. Some of you have even shared their private information with me so that I can privately contact them. So I'm pleading as well with each of you. It's hard to deal with just groups of people when general statements are made. I would love the opportunity to just speak with them one-on-one. If you can get them to speak with me. If they believe that they cannot speak with me, Mr. Wald is here. We have other individuals who are here. I will gladly put them in touch with whomever they want to discuss their situation. It's just a little bit hard when we talk in generalities. I just want to get to the root of it myself, because I'd like to be able to share with you that we have, right now, we have less than 10% vacancy in terms of the total population of employees that work here in this area. So we wanted that to even go down further. I want to be like my counterparts all over Kansas that, have less than 10 openings right now. And we're getting there. We're getting there. Some of the people who were hired over the past month were in the special education department. But again, we do have individuals for unforeseen reasons that had to leave our district over the past couple of months. So that's why the numbers fluctuate. I don't want you to think that these are just the same numbers. It really is that we do have not only some of the same openings right now, but that we get to certain points where we can get those individuals in who may be new teachers moving in. There are real estate individuals that I've given my business card to say, if you are helping a teacher that's moving in here with a family, please send them my way, and that's worked very well too. I'm very open.
Well, great, because Dr. Faust and I have had that conversation, and kind of a twofold comment and question. So do you ever, for lack of a better phrase, some of those applications that those people who applied in the past, let's say they just kind of slipped through the cracks. Do you ever follow up? I mean, do we keep those applications so that you can follow up with some of those applications?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, one of the board members has shared with me, or two of you, that some of those individuals who didn't get through to possibly a successful interview or get hired have been invited numerous times to our career fairs. and they keep getting the same invitation over. So, and I've showed some of those documents to Dr. Faust even about how many times we're inviting people in.
Well, good. So we'll continue to have the conversation.
Okay.
And that we'll share with Dr. Faust some specific names.
Thank you.
And then we can follow up with, so that all of us will know how the system works, if nothing else. Where there still may be speed bumps, are there cogs, are there barriers or gaps, whatever word we can use, challenges, we can use that. As the second question, comment, you say you've already been to 18, 21 places, whatever?
Since September.
Dr. Faust, probably be helpful if she shares, if they share us that list, so that and that future of the, where your plans are, and maybe we have contacts there. Great. That could cut down on a few of the phone calls.
Okay.
Instead of getting put on hold, then you have a direct line.
That would be great. Would you like me to present at least where we've been for the first semester?
Just send it to us. Because you've been there. and if you have received, let's say, if you were successful with applications, then just note. And if you haven't, you haven't. But you've been there.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
I'd just like to say thank you for the work that you're doing. It's obvious from what you're presenting to us that it takes a lot of time and effort to be able to do this. And for me, I appreciate what you're doing, and thank you for how you're presenting it. And I know that it's not an easy job, but yet and still you're doing the best you can. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Strickland. And thank you all.
Thank you. Where are we now? Okay. Dr. Faust.
So we would ask that the Kansas City Board accept as an informal item a report on the KSDE Consolidation State Improvement Plan, Every Student Succeeds Act, as submitted by Dr. Jason Strickland, Deputy Superintendent, and is recommended by myself.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
I would like to invite to the podium Mrs. Michelle Hayes and her team. They are part of the Kansas Learning Network, and they partner with us in our work to help increase student success. They do things like share resources with us and get us connected to resources across the state so that we can achieve the goals. They're going to share some information this evening about the plan that actually you all got a copy of that plan a few weeks ago, and we covered it. Dr. Faust and myself covered some parts of it at the retreat on the Saturday that we had a few weeks ago. But they're going to share some highlights from that plan. So with that said, I will invite Ms. Michelle Hayes and her team to the podium.
Welcome. And glad that the highways were clear.
Yes, me too. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Faust, and board members. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share information with you about the state plan. As Dr. Strickland shared, my name is Michelle Hayes. I'm the director of the Kansas Learning Network. The Kansas Learning Network is a technical assistance arm of the Kansas State Department of Education. We partner with districts that are eligible for support and identified by the State Department of Education. We currently support 15 schools in your school district. We have 5 implementation coaches that are in the schools supporting your principals and supporting staff members. And then myself working closely at the district level with Dr. Faust, Dr. Strickland, and the executive directors, and then also my colleague who's here with me tonight, Casey Olson, who is an implementation coach and also supports at the district level around professional learning plans. Today, I am really going to focus on the state plan. And really, Kansas has been in the midst of a perfect storm over the past few years. And so you will remember that on December 10th, 2015, was the reauthorization of ESEA, in which President Obama signed into law ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act. So ESEA was reauthorized. With that reauthorization, No Child Left Behind went out. ESEA came into play. And as that began to unfold, then the state of Kansas also in June of, let me think about this, 2016, approved a new accreditation model. And then to follow that, in January of 2018, the state approved this new plan that we're going to talk about today, which really takes into account the fact that there was the reauthorization, and we have the Every Student Succeeds Act, and then as well the new accreditation model. And so that all plays into what you read in the state plan that I'm going to highlight during this time. So my hope is that I can supplement your current knowledge of the state plan that you've had the opportunity to read, that you will be gaining additional understandings and clarity around just the plan as a whole, and then I would specifically like to focus and hone in on the instructional practices and the term evidence-based that's outlined in the plan. And I hope that you have the opportunity to generate questions. I do want to tell you that I am happy to answer questions. If questions come up that I can't answer, I am committed to finding the answer for you. And so I will say, if you ask questions around the algorithms that were used for any kind of identification, I will have to defer to colleagues and bring that information back to you. But around the content of the plan, I'm happy to answer questions about that. So on the screen, you will see the vision for education. And as identified by the State Board of Education, at the top, what we're all gearing for, is to have successful high school graduates. And in Kansas, we've defined a successful high school graduate, as you will see there, as having academic cognitive skills, employability skills, and civic engagement. And so anything and everything that is in the state plan, the ultimate goal goes back to graduation. And I share that with you because as we begin to dig deeper into this plan, you will notice some very specific accountability pieces around graduation. I also want to share that you'll notice at the bottom the word compliance. And so some of the things I'm going to talk about today are around accountability and compliance. And I want to share that the lens that I come from as I share that is that compliance is a springboard to ensure equity across school districts. In the middle, you will see the words evidence-based practices. So in everything that we do to feed up into having successful high school graduates, we need to focus on evidence-based practices as outlined in the law. And I will share more information with that with you as we go forward here. As we move into the next few slides, I want to share with you that the way I have outlined this is to include the page number of the state plan for each component that I share. And so that way, as you are taking any notes, you know where to go back in the plan to find information. I have also included hyperlinks so that you can go back and find information if it's on the state website. So for example, just this particular graphic, I just put the link at the bottom so that you could go back and find it at any time. Or if the district wanted to look closer where you all fall in your work, you could mark on that as well. So for example, you all within accreditation are working on relevance and relationships. And so those are the first two R's on the graphic that you see. Okay, so I'm going to jump into accountability. This is the accountability beginning right now in this school year, okay? And so while I mentioned that we've been supporting school districts, and this is my third year supporting KCK public schools, I'm not talking about what's happened in the past, I'm talking about what's happening right now and moving forward. So here are some important pieces. Annually, as kids take the annual state assessment, there has been a long-term performance measure identified by the Kansas State Department of Education, and that is that 75% of students in the all-student category and in subgroups will score in levels 3 and 4 combined on the state assessments in English language arts and mathematics by 2030. So you will remember that under No Child Left Behind, it was to get to 100%, and that has since passed. Now we have a longer time period, and we're looking at 75% in performance levels 3 and 4. And I'm going to dig deeper into what those performance levels mean on the next slides. The U.S. Department of Ed requires states to identify subgroups in which they will also calculate the results for. So on the screen, you can see the subgroups in Kansas in which results will be calculated for. So when we're talking about assessment scores, it's the all-student category, and then in addition to the all-student category, it is broken up by subgroups. In a school, a subgroup is 30 or more students. These are the performance levels on the state assessment. Level 1 is described as limited ability to understand and use the skills and knowledge necessary for college and career readiness. And then it moves up to level 2, the basic ability to understand. Level 3, an effective ability to understand. And level 4, an excellent ability to understand. When the state uses the word proficient, proficient is levels 3 and 4. Non-proficient is levels 1 and 2. Now, something that's really important about this and that I don't want to be misconstrued, especially to families and to teachers, is that this is not saying that if you don't score a level 3 or 4 that you are not able to go to college. And I know that that's a fear that gets out there, that that's how it would be shared to a teacher or to families. So I just want to make sure that I state that that is not to be misconstrued. The performance levels are required by the U.S. Department of Ed, and levels 3 and 4 have been identified as proficient. And so as you read the plan, when you hear the words non-proficient, it's just important to know that's levels 1 and 2. And when you hear proficient, that's levels 3 and 4. In addition to talking about accountability with state assessments, schools and districts are required to have 95% of their students participating in the state assessments. If a school does not have 95% of their all-student category or any of their subgroups, they are penalized for that. And there are sanctions that come along with that as well, as outlined in the state plan. And so it's just important that all students have access to take the assessment.
Can I ask you a question now? When you say penalize, in what way? What happens to the school?
It will go on the building report card that is public to everyone. It also affects where they fall in the when schools have their rankings. I'm going to turn a little bit now into another important piece, which is very timely for tonight, as you had an exciting evening with a graduation, and that is graduation rates. So graduation rates have a specific goal in Kansas that is outlined in the state plan and that will be monitored by the state, and that is to have a 95% graduation rate by the year 2030. This is all districts, all schools, all subgroups. This one is unique because, as you will see, it says on the screen, each individual subgroup is unique to each individual subgroup because some subgroups will be accountable for higher annual percentage of improvement in order to close the gap. So, for example, if you have a school sitting at a 75% graduation rate, their time to close the gap might be easier than a school that's sitting at 60% graduation rate. And so annually, the graduation rates are pieces of data that you will want to pay attention to locally. I've also included the link there to a fact sheet that really just outlines information about graduation rates and resources for things that you can do to improve graduation rates.
What's our graduation rate right now?
73%.
73?
And that ties directly into where we're going next. Thank you. So any schools that have less than 67% of the all-student category or any subgroup of graduation rate will be reported beginning this year. So right now, the state is looking closely at the data that was reported from last year, and will begin generating those lists likely in December or January. And so any school that has less than 67% graduation rate would begin receiving additional support from the Kansas Learning Network. The state has also outlined some descriptors around expectations for graduation rates, as you can see on the screen. If a building is not making necessary progress to meet the long-term graduation rate, they are below expectations. If they are more than 67%, but again, not progressing as quickly as the state average, then they are at approaching standards. Meet standards is they are on track to meet the 95% graduation rate, and then exceeds would be more than 95% of students are graduating.
Are they thinking of changing the definition of graduation rates? Because it's currently go by cohorts, is that correct?
It does.
Have they thought about changing that definition, or?
It has recently been changed in the state plan. A 4-year adjusted cohort is the definition that they are working off of.
So what do you say? Okay.
So we have what we talked about at the beginning, your state assessments for ELA and math. We have graduation rates that we're looking at the high school, and then of course impacting the entire district, because that's the ultimate goal, right? And then we have a few other measures of accountability. And so the gift that keeps on giving here, we'll move into the next pieces of accountability. At the elementary and middle schools, you will notice that there are 4 pieces of accountability that are being looked at elementary and middle. The first is academic proficiency. So it's not only looking, like we said earlier, about what level did students score on the state assessment. Was it a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, a level 4? It's also looking at what % of the students in the building are proficient for the all-student and subgroups. Then it's looking at what's the gap between the all-student category and the subgroups. It's looking at the English language proficiency. And so that's one area we aren't digging into deeply tonight. However, we could in the future. And then the last one is student success. And I just wanted to give the definition of the student success category. Student success category is very important because it is reducing the percentage of students that fall into the level 1 category. So it's not just about get everybody to a 3, get everybody to a 3 and hit that threshold. It's about meeting the students where they are and continuously helping them to improve. And the state thinks that it's important to recognize when we are moving students from that level 1 to that level 2 category. So that's elementary and middle. When we look at high schools, and several of them are the exact same. Academic proficiency, so looking at who's proficient, who's not, what percentage of students. And then instead of gap, it's looking at the graduation rates. So the graduation for the all-student category, the graduation for the subgroups. And then again, the English language proficiency, and then the student success, which is the number of students from level 1 that we're moving forward. So there's a lot of accountability in the state plan. And so as in supporting principals and supporting district leaders and supporting teachers and in supporting the support staff that help to keep everything running in the school district, the role of the Kansas Learning Network is to work with school districts that are eligible for the support and help them to try to put all of these pieces together so it doesn't feel like everything is in isolation. So for example, we just went over the state plan, which is to support all students. And while that is in place, there are also additional Title I requirements, additional special education requirements, district goals, school goals, all that are working together to meet the needs of students. And so that is where specifically the Kansas Learning Network support comes in, and really our focus is on instruction and supporting By supporting instruction, we mean supporting leaders and supporting teachers. And so pages 40 and on of this state plan outline the supports that are out there and the evidence base behind the supports. And so in the state plan, we look closely at that continuous cycle of improvement, as you can see on this screen here, where we identify the needs, we select approaches, we plan, we implement, and then we examine and reflect. And then we go back, okay, what are our needs? And this is a continuous cycle. And the Kansas Learning Network is kind of a piece that's there in the middle. The word there today is consultation. It could be coaching. It could be support. But the important piece of what you see there is that cyclical school improvement process. And in order to effectively engage in that process, we must have high quality instruction and evidence-based practices. So as outlined in Title I, and further as outlined in the state plan around any schools identified as eligible for support, which we call those schools comprehensive and support schools or targeted support and improvement schools, the funds must be used to implement evidence-based practices. And so I've included some definitions here that I think might be helpful that help to really think about what questions you might ask yourself when you're identifying how are we going to support teachers, how are we going to support students, and how are we going to support leadership. So as the law states, that is through utilizing evidence-based practices. And evidence-based practices are defined here on this slide, and there are 4 levels of evidence-based practices that are included on the slide that can be utilized for Title I schools. And for any schools, even if they're not Title, that are identified for any of the information that we just went over previously. So that's new in the state plan. High schools can and will be identified even though they are not Title. If a school is identified as in need of support, you cannot use all 4 levels. It drops down to only the top 2. And so this is important because as you all are in the role of making important decisions around how you are going to spend funds to support schools, it's important to know the definition of evidence base as well as what the law says about supporting schools and leadership. And so we know that the second most important thing that impacts a student's achievement is their teacher. And there are many research studies that have been done that would argue that the principal has even more influence than the individual teacher. And so you'll see many of those things outlined as you read Title I and around the suggested practices for supporting schools. So essentially, today I was hoping to supplement some of the knowledge that you already had. Clearly, everyone can sit and can read a document. Sometimes it's just nicer to hear the highlights. And I'm hoping that you heard the importance of instruction and evidence-based practices through that. And I'm hopeful that you have questions that would help to clarify anything that might not be clear.
Questions? I'd like for you to give us an example. Doesn't have to be real, but realistic.
Okay.
So you say we have 15, you're here, and you have 15 schools that are comprehensive?
Currently, however, the state is getting ready to identify the new cohort of schools, and so that information will be available in December or January.
Okay, but currently?
Currently.
We have 15 schools. And you said we have 5 implementation coaches on the ground?
Yeah.
And what's the level of professional learning? Do the coaches incorporate professional learning, or that why did you separate those two? Why did you identify them separately?
Why did I identify the
5 implementation coaches and professional learning?
Oh, okay. I can clarify that for you. So the implementation coaches are supporting professional learning as well as supporting leadership and so on within the building. At the district level, we have one team member, Casey, who's here with me tonight, who is sitting on the professional learning team, think tank, thank you, as a support from the Kansas Learning Network in listening and learning about what you're doing with professional learning and then pushing the thinking around, okay, how is this working at a systems level?
Okay. So where I would like for you to be specific is what type of help specifically in a school do you provide, and how is your performance measured, so that we all know that it is successful?
Excellent question. And so let me start with the measurement piece. Okay. So something that is unique about the Kansas Learning Network project is that we do have an outside evaluation team that is through KU that is constantly evaluating our work. So anything that we provide must be evidence-based and meet those definitions that you saw on the screen previously. So it's not just about us telling someone that they need to use evidence-based practices. In our own practices, we must use evidence-based practices in coaching and supporting the leader. So I have evaluations that I could send you from the last 3 years. In addition to the evidence-based piece, we also survey your district leadership team and your building leadership teams annually and receive feedback from them on what more does the district need. And then I want to go back to the first part of your question, though, because I haven't answered it. And would you mind reminding me
what specific type of help you provide?
Okay. So we have a large menu of supports that we can provide. And so I'm going to share with you the things that we must provide, and then I can tell you what's above and beyond that.
Okay.
Okay. And so supports that we must provide go back to this particular graphic. And so in year 1, we worked with the schools to identify their local needs. We created, we didn't create, we utilized the needs assessment that was put out by accreditation so that your buildings would not be doing something above and beyond what was already required of accreditation to conduct a needs assessment. We utilized their local data to take them through some root cause analyses and then to begin selecting approaches to try in their schools and collect data around. They have created plans in Kansas Star, which is the online platform that your district is using to secure their school improvement plans. And then we're continuously monitoring that with the principal. And so much of what we do follows the scaffolding model of I'll do it and you can watch me do it, utilizing evidence-based practices. Now, principal, you and I, we do it together. And then principal, you do, and I'll coach you afterwards through reflection and then through planning your next steps. So that's how we're working directly with the principal. In addition to that, conducting walkthroughs to look for evidence of the things that they've planned for are taking place in the classrooms. We also sit on building leadership teams, providing that outside lens. So as the teams meet and they're looking at data and they're planning and making decisions, we are there as a partner, providing an outside lens and utilizing coaching tools. And so not asking gotcha questions, because that's not the point, and not asking questions that we would already know the answer to, because that's a gotcha as well. More asking questions about around ways to push their thinking or to see things through a different lens that they may not have thought of before and that we've had the opportunity to see in other places just because we work in several school districts.
Right.
And then also matching them to resources. So this ties directly to professional learning. As Casey sits on this group and they identify professional learning needs, then Casey and I will work together to help gather necessary professional learning that the buildings might need or that the district might need. And I should say that we are a right arm of the Kansas State Department of Education, so everything that we provide is free. And so whether that be us ourselves or if that's us going out and getting a national expert to access.
Well, that provides a more complete picture, because I, for one, have not had the opportunity to hear the role that you have played with, performed in our district. And that surely clarifies for me, what frequency are you on the ground? How regular? Are you here all the time? In these 15 schools?
In these 15 schools. So I should tell you that we also support 2 other school districts. And some of the coaches also support some other school districts in addition to this one. And it varies how often we are in the district. So for example, I have routinely scheduled time with district leadership that's monthly and ongoing, in addition to phone calls or emails that need to take place. In the buildings, we have some places where they're off and running and it's really only once a month. We have other places where the coach might be in the building bi-weekly. There have been times that has been even more frequently than bi-weekly if something has come up or they're really trying to plan for something and get something off the ground. And so we have to be there once a month. However, mostly it's bi-weekly.
Great. So I think it would be helpful if we receive some, not so much evaluation of your performance, but if it's some way that we can capture evaluation of the impact it has had on our schools, because surely you also would want to see that. Otherwise, you don't want to waste your time.
That's right.
And we can't allow it.
Yes, that would
Now, you made a point, you mentioned something as far as your evaluation. So what reports do we get? You said you've been here 3 years? What reports have we gotten over the last 3 years?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm honestly not sure what reports that you've gotten. So I've been working directly with district leadership, and so I'm not sure what updates that they have shared with you.
Well, let me ask that differently. Have you submitted reports of results of your activity over the past 3 years to the district in some form or fashion? Either a postcard, either a 1,600-page report, whatever form it's in. I mean, I can. If I don't hit it on the number, you can say she didn't ask me the right question. So, but I'm asking you the global question: have we received? Do we receive? Have you filed reports someplace about your activity? USD 500 of the last 3 years.
Yes, we keep very close eye on the work that we are doing. And so I would like to say that the state plan itself is kind of a report to you, because if you read that back section about support, it's all about the things that the Kansas Learning Network will do. And so that's kind of an overview of supports that we can provide. As far as the boots on the ground, working with the principals, and working in the schools, the things that they're documenting in their school improvement plans in Kansas Star, some of that, there's a portion in there for coaching comments, and the implementation coaches are commenting in there monthly about the progress that is being made. In addition to that, each time that we are in a school, we generate a coaching comment that goes to the principal and then that is forwarded to the respective executive director, so that there's a clear communication loop there, so that the executive director is aware of what supports we're providing. That way we can make sure we're saying the same things, and that I don't go in there and say something to a principal that is not in alignment with where the district is going, because our ultimate goal is to support the district in building the district's capacity to do the work, in hopes that this isn't a place where we're eligible to support, even though it's full of wonderful people. And so There are reports, sent daily depending on when we are in the district.
Are there annual reports?
Are there annual reports? Yeah, an annual report can be pulled from a spreadsheet at any time.
Has your department within the Department of Education sent any written notification to the district in the last 3 years recording activity, annual report? I probably have the wrong name, wrong word.
Well, and it's so confusing. So the State Department of Education, which I am kind of an arm of, but have they written any notifications to this district around
your activity?
This activity?
Either comes under your letterhead or KD.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. And if the board or if the board would like to see that, can they ask you directly?
Sure.
Okay. I think, Ms. Drew, you have a question?
No,
Thank you.
You asked my question.
Okay. Thank
Well,
you.
I look forward to hopefully talking
Any other
to
questions
you
over
again.
this side? None? Well, thank you very much.
I
And
have a question. I have a question. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was about to get down from here.
Now, you said that if I guess the threshold is at 67%.
For the graduation?
Graduation rate. And if it's less than 67% or 67%, you will provide support for them, right? Am I correct?
Correct.
What kind of support, specifically, what kind of support? And aren't you providing ongoing support for the other, until they get to that 60, if they're at 67%, haven't you been providing them with support prior to them coming up with this, to being identified as 67% that is lesser than?
So, yes and yes. 67%, anyone that's been falling below 67% prior to the state plan was already receiving support, and that would be direct support from the Department of Education, probably through more of monitoring and compliance. It is new with this state plan that it becomes not just monitoring and compliance, but the support, the how. Because many times the monitoring and compliance, if it's something that can easily be checked, that's easy to do if it's a paperwork trail or something. But when we get into what would we do, helping them to look at data, a root cause analysis, partnering with national centers around that are experts on increasing graduation rates, that's the type of work that we would do with the schools that are eligible. And it wouldn't be just the ones that are below 67%. Let's say they're sitting at 68 or 69. They fall into that approaching expectations threshold, then there could be supports there as well.
Thank you.
Another? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And have a safe trip back to Topeka. Is that where you live?
Well, I will be here again tomorrow.
Oh, well, good. Then we'll meet for dinner later.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That everything for that? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the consent agenda. Any items anyone want to set aside?
I have a few questions on G.
G? G like go. All right? Any others? Like to have a motion to accept the consent agenda minus G.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept this consent agenda with setting aside G. Any discussion?
I just had clarification.
Not yet.
Not
yet.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion passed. Now you'd like to address G.
I just had clarification. It says it's a renewal, so I wanted to know a little more about it because previously, as noted, our standards for math and reading, which is this is supposed to help enhance, has not been great. So what is going to be different going forward, and how are we using this with our new curriculum outline so that when we pay this money, we will get a full-on return for our investment?
Well, Dr.
Dr. Faust, excuse me, met with the folks from Imagine Learning and then placed me in charge of leading a group of studying with this. So what we've done is we've limited it to just 12 schools, and they're a variety of performing schools. So it's not just our lowest, not just our highest, but a variety of throughout there. And we're going to use this to actually determine how effective it is with the cap. They have their own reports of different things, but they really don't have much around the cap. So this is going to be part of that study. What we're trying to do is identify if it's actually one of those evidence-based resources as was just outlined in the last presentation.
So we've not had this before because it says a renewal. So we've had it before in all the schools, and now we're just putting it in 12 of the schools. Is that what?
So yes, last year they implemented it. They were starting off with a few schools, but they decided to push it in all the elementary schools. And they started in January, and individuals were not formally trained to get the results that were needed. So what happened was I met with the CEO, one of the executive sales, and then the rep for our schools. And we talked about what pilot implementation should have looked like and what should have been offered for our school district. And so it went from, I think it was like a $900,000 fee to the $200,000. So what we're doing is I want to be able to qualify and quantify what does it look like with our top performing, our middle, and our low, because technically that's how we would do a study, to have that control group to see if this actually doesn't impact. I know that, I mean, in other districts, I've seen it work, but we have to make sure that our educators and our school leaders understand the package and how it's being done versus pushing it all out and giving them a group of training and then expecting it to be implemented with, my favorite word, fidelity. So what they're doing is they're coming back and they're going to be training and doing the full training with the implementation and making sure that they are guiding us through each of the implementation sites for the kids. And so that's what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then you want to move that item?
I move that we accept item G.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept item G. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Now, let me get out of this one, go right back. Next item, payment of the bills. Any questions? Guess I should have a motion first, but I'll take the question. Dr. Mathers, page 11 is a consultant. What was the purpose of that consultant? Let me give you, I can't pronounce the name, so do you want the number? Fourth from the bottom, excuse me, fourth from top, 000421117.
Sabana Cavanagh.
Yeah, that one. Page 11, fourth from the top, 00042.
Dr. Wynn, I don't have that information unless Wayne can look that up to see if it was a particular consultant for school or who it was in front of me without pulling that invoice.
With first name Shabina, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Honorarium for October 2018 professional development.
Is it in? Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening.
Shabina is a professor at K-State, and she is providing professional learning to ESL teachers.
So will that be, is this a one-time?
She will come in one more time for another $3,000.
Is there a report given anytime? Actually, I guess that's not a fair question to ask you. Mr. Goheen, is there any reporting requirements for our use of consultants in the board policies? Thank you.
Consultants, perhaps, what I thought I heard was that this was somebody doing professional development training as opposed to consulting work, which is slightly different. I know it's characterized as consulting work, but it sounds like this is somebody that was brought in to actually provide professional development for teachers or a group of teachers.
Okay, so so finish your thought.
Well, my thought process is that each building or each department has a approved authorization to spend money on professional development. Mm-hmm. And so if this falls within that category, that wouldn't be reported necessarily to the board other than this report for payment of expenditures. If somebody's hiring a consultant to do an evaluation or to take some other steps, that's a little bit different, but that's not what I heard this was.
Right, so here once again we have to, we're faced with how you identify expenditures that may be or may not be confusing. But then your second train of thought, if there is a true consultant, are there reporting requirements?
My recollection, without pulling the board policy up, is that the superintendent has the authority to hire consultants or retain consultants within a certain budgetary amount.
As well as the board.
As well as, the board obviously does.
We're saying, are there reporting requirements?
I don't think so, other than this. But you certainly could ask questions about it.
Well, one would think if one could, under either category.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions on the payables?
I just had a question about Time Magazine on page 20, Time for Kids. Doesn't our library provide access to Time Magazine for kids? Or don't we have a subscription to them?
Sorry, for the public schools or the public
Right, isn't there some kind of partnership?
We have partnerships, but all our publications, you have to have a public library in order to access that. Because of school, there are certain things that you can't have in school. Children's, I'm not 100% sure whether we have that one. It depends on the amount of money that each library gets. So they decide what they can and what they couldn't get. But what the public library has, you have to have a public library card.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on possibly which schools are getting the Time Magazine, or if there's any way we can have a partnership with the library to look more into it, to help with resources, to maybe help filter our kids to the library, as well as have that good partnership on reading, because I know there's so many resources available at the public library that the kids read online. So I think that would be a great joint effort. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion that we pay our bills.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to pay the approved payment of bills for K-12 and library. Further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now I need a motion for the board to recess into executive session at 7 p.m. for 10 minutes to discuss executive level job description pursuant to an exception for non-elected personnel under the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The board will return to open session at 7:10 with no action to follow. And we will stay here.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to move into executive session. Thank you.